You all set, Chris?
We are. All right, we are live on Zoom and we are live on YouTube.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. We'll go ahead and call the July 8th, 2026 meeting of the Rockbridge County Planning Commission to order and start with a roll call. Commission member Sabrizi.
Here.
Commission member Melvin.
Here.
Commission member Sandridge.
Here.
Commission member Whitmore is here and Commission member Beebe is absent. And before we get into the agenda, I'd like to say, in addition to citizens attending the meeting in person, citizens have several options to view or participate in the Zoom meeting webinar as described below. We will do our best to take citizen comment remotely. There are two options for citizens to offer comment. Number one, to join the Rockbridge County Planning Commission Zoom webinar. The link is available on the county website to copy into the address line on your browser. And number two, to join by telephone, you may dial in to one of the numbers listed on the county website. Webinar ID and password are there for your convenience. Citizens wishing to simply view the meeting live or after the fact can do so on the Rockbridge County Planning Commission YouTube channel, also available on the county website. If you wish to make a citizen comment as a Zoom meeting participant, you'll use the raise your hand feature. You can press raise the hand button on the bottom of your Zoom window or press *9 if you're calling in by telephone. At this time, we will proceed with the meeting. And we'll start with citizen comments on anything not related to the actual agenda.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if we have anybody physically present.
There's no one signed up. With that, let me check online. And there are no attendees nor people with their hands raised.
Okay. We'll move on to the meetings of the June 10th, 2026 meeting. Did everybody have a chance to review and any corrections, comments?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Okay, motion.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we'll move on to board reports.
Yes, at its meeting on June 22nd, the Board of Supervisors approved an ordinance pertaining to gardens and chickens. That's Chapter 30, Article 5, Section 29. They did make some modifications. Essentially, we chatted about it at the Office of Community Development Committee meeting, I should say. And what they ended up what they ended up discussing and what ultimately the Board of Supervisors adopted is they struck out the requirement that 1 acre requirement for any chickens. And they also because they struck out the 1 acre requirement, they also added back in the keeping of female chickens shall not be objectionable because of reasons of odor, dust, noise, pollution, soil erosion, sediment, or drainage. So it's sort of a hybrid of what we talked about than what was recommended, I should say.
Make a comment on that.
Absolutely.
John, you know that stuff about what was the list of objection.
Noise.
Yes.
Noise and
Yes.
stuff like that.
Yes.
I mean, we commented that on here in the planning commission meeting, and I think you made a comment about that was kind of why we went with striking it out. It doesn't seem to hurt anything being in there.
I mean, if they want it, they make the ultimate decision.
Right.
That's what's in, what's not in, as long as the law doesn't prohibit it. So yeah, I understand what you're making.
I mean, I think it's better with it in it, but I mean, I was also at the committee meeting too, when there was discussion, and I guess the rationale behind the 1 acre, there's still left in is how many feet off the property line?
They have to be in a pen and at 20 feet. Yes, 20 feet off at any side and rear property line.
That was kind of the rationale, but that was, if you're 20 feet off, you're 20 feet off, whether it's an acre or
Half acre. That makes sense.
Also, at its June 22nd meeting, the Board of Supervisors approved an ordinance pertaining to public utility service major in the R1 and R2 zoning district. That was as recommended by the Planning Commission. In addition, the board adopted resolutions to support VDOT smart scale applications that the Office of Community Development made for the pedestrian and vehicular improvements to the Route 11 corridor, essentially from the city of Lexington to Greenhouse / Econo Lane, that area. We made smart scale. We have made smart scale applications in the past. And to back up a little bit, smart scale is an application process through VDOT that provides 100% funding. It's the only revenue source that provides 100% funding. And so again, they're vehicular and pedestrian improvements that we've made an application for. The board also held discussion and moved to set the public hearing on amending the Office of Community Development's fee schedule. Y'all are familiar with the fee schedule because you see it essentially most of the fee schedule on a monthly basis on the applications. Public hearing will take place on the board's July 27th meeting. That's the next regular scheduled meeting. The TCO, the Tourism Corridor Overlay, did not meet in July. The Board of Zoning Appeals did not meet in June. There had been a meeting scheduled for June 17th, but the applicants withdrew the application. The next BZA is scheduled from a week from today, Wednesday, July 15th. And that's all I have for the board and committee reports.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Next up, we have a public hearing for Boundary Line Lane LLC on Boundary Line Lane, Lexington, Virginia. Public hearing for an application for a special exception permit for the development of a contractor's equipment storage yard and associated shop office in the general business B1 zoning district.
Yes, Boundary Line Lane LLC, to be determined. Boundary Line Lane, Lexington, Virginia 24450, has made an application for a special exception permit to develop a contractor's equipment storage yard and associated shop / office in the general business. That's the B1 zoning district. Properties are owned by Boundary Line Lane LLC and are located on the west side of Boundary Line Lane, further identified as Route 1024, north of the intersection of Route 11, of course, North Lee Highway and Boundary Line Lanes. The properties are further identified as tax map number 4910-16. The tax map 16, it consists of 0.45 acres per tax records. The second parcel under consideration is 49-10-17, and that consists of 1.001 acres per tax records. Again, both properties are located in the general business zoning district per chapter 30, article 6, section 30-42C25. Still getting used to the code sections of the county code, not the land development regulations. Again, of the Rockbridge County Code, quote, contractors, equipment, storage yards, and associated shop / office are used by special exception in the general business zone. The managing member, Mr. Walter Garrett's here to review details of the application and answering questions that the planning commission may have. And I can pull this site plan up if you'd like to come up and use the microphone.
The planning commission, the crowd, appreciate your time, effort, consideration tonight. I have a business that's, we call ourselves landscapers. We don't do any mowing, don't own a single weed eater, more of a hardscape construction type thing. So if you've ever, you're contractors, there's a kind of standard evolution of things where you start small, you're at your house, you get a few guys, 4 or 5 guys showing up every day, 7 o'clock in the morning, again at 5:30 in the afternoon. Your wife sits you down, gives you a little talk. Something's got to change here. The next step, all right, let's look around for a place to rent, place to buy. All right. Somewhere along the lines to realize, wait, business zoning does not cut it. You need that I. Industrial zoning, same thing as I guess any factory would need. My 5-man landscaping business needs. Okay, well, where's this industrial land? Not very many places. So did some due diligence with talking to Tom Beebe, talking to Chris, saying, hey, what are my odds? Nothing's a given, but you're surrounded by business. Doesn't seem like you got at least a reasonable chance. So here I am checking out, see if that reasonable chance is high or low. Basically, we just need a place to show up, guys leave their personal trucks, get in company trucks, have our pallets of stone, have our equipment that we load up, and that's the gist of it. I've always wanted to not only have that, but have a retail thing, which is why we paid extra to be on Route 11. There were plenty of options that didn't have a price tag, but I wanted a place that's going to look good, driving down 11, you're gonna see it, how well we take care of it. They're gonna say, hey, maybe we should hire those people. And a few things for sale, pallets of stone. Not really interested in like bulk mulch sales or bulk topsoil. It could end up there, but for now, I just want stuff that we can't really get anywhere else without driving to Harrisonburg or Roanoke, which are, you know, pallets of bluestone, maybe some bald and burlap trees, you know, just that kind of stuff. And so Boundary Line Lane was reasonably close to my house. I liked how it was good visibility, flat slope, relatively flat. And so I went ahead and put in an offer. Offer's accepted, and here we are. So not sure what kind of questions you guys might have, but one thing that we're trying to do is have the prettiest stuff up front, have anything that's like a little bit looser and not as appealing to the eye in the rear. Probably that uphill property, I would say, would be in an ideal world where the employees would be switching out personal trucks for company trucks and that kind of thing. So that as you're coming down Route 11, and we would have to level it. So it's a decent little grade, but it's workable, hopefully. And so you're not going to be able to see, like right now, you can kind of see all the way up the property. Once we kind of do a little cut and fill, the junkier stuff hopefully will be a little bit less noticeable. And that's where we're at.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Garrett. You guys have any questions?
You were mentioning equipment and you mentioned what, no mowers. And what kind, I mean, is it just trucks?
Yeah, so we stay anything that you can haul without a commercial driver's license. That's just a pain to have. My crew have to go through all those hoops. So we're using 1-ton trucks or smaller, which is here at F350. Half my friends drive these to the grocery stores. You know, it's trailers that are just big enough to carry what we can legally bobcats and mini excavators, you know, which means nothing bigger than 2,000 pounds. So yeah, nothing huge. We're not excavators by any means. I guess call us mini excavators. Yeah, right now I think I own 2 pieces, but it's for growth. I'm buying this anticipating growth. So what I have now isn't necessarily your only consideration.
How many employees now and how many employees?
5
like-
now. I think that's what I've been maintaining by the last few years. I could see it getting a little bit bigger. That's basically 2 crews, and maybe one day it'll be 3 or 4 crews, or maybe it won't. But I want to buy something big enough that did position me for some growth.
Does have any questions? Is most of your work in the county here, or do you go, you know?
We are 90% Rockbridge County. Occasionally we'll end up in Bath, Southern Augusta. Yeah, quite local. So we're pretty much the 5 guys. They all live in Rockbridge County. Yeah, so pretty local. And if you've ever been up to Stanton, Waynesboro, and noticed Waynesboro Garden Center in Waynesboro, in Fishersville, there's Village Garden Center, there's Stanton Plant Company in Stanton. You know, almost everyone, and those are our main competitors. There's not a ton of people within Rockbridge County kind of doing what I do. It seems like when we lose a job or something, it's somebody coming out of Augusta, and they tend to all have the same thing: a big retail operation in the front, and then their, you know, construction side in the back. And that's sort of the model that I'm trying to imitate.
You mentioned the retail. Would that be starting up initially, or is that a future plan?
That would be down the road, and right away we would want to have our pretty stuff out front. And sure, it's for sale, but it's mainly how many homeowners are going to stack their own stone. You know, it's a lead into the installation.
Okay.
But
That was a question I have for staff is, you know, if it started as a retail business and expanded into, you know, storage contractor yard, what would happen then? I mean, it seems like a retail plant sale business would be a use by right. And
That is correct. That's correct. Yes.
So
it's a very limited review of what we're doing this evening. The retail sales would be permissible as a by right use, but the contractor's equipment would be the special exception.
the storage, that's
Yes.
okay.
and piggyback it off of Mr. Garrett's comments, in an industrial zoning district, this is a permitted use, and we have several larger contractor equipment storage yards in industrial zones. I will agree with Mr. Garrett that the availability of industrial general zoned property zone general industrial I-1 is fairly limiting, or is limiting, I'll say. And so this is not a surprise application that this land would be proposed to be utilized for this purpose.
Yeah, I guess hopefully I can do everything I've been doing at my home, with neighbors all around, but I can't do it in B1. It's just sort of interesting.
You're doing this out of your personal residence right now?
Yeah. I mean, not everybody comes to the house every day. Our guys go to the job site.
They go to the job site.
And we do have a lot of flexibility, in my opinion, we do have a lot of flexibility as a cottage business or a cottage industry in the agricultural zoning district. So the majority of our, well, I won't say that, but it's not uncommon for Office of Community Development to approve business licenses for a cottage business. That is limiting to a total of 5 employees, but this will certainly allow for more flexibility.
There's no limit to the employees. If we
In a
approve
business,
that.
oh, no, sir, no.
I don't know that we have anybody I mean, there were some houses back behind there. I don't know if you've talked
Yeah,
to
I
anybody.
think I counted like 7 or 8 houses up the hill. There is another, so literally on every single side, left and right and to the rear is another business lot at least. Across the road has been for sale for years
Yeah, I
now.
saw the sign.
And I don't, this is my own personal problem sob story, but obviously you guys have the ability to limit me, but not nearly in the way that VDOT can. And even though what you see here is my plan, it could all pretty much go out. Part of the reason retail isn't as available is VDOT's telling me that they will not let tractor trailers turn in off of Route 11 onto Boundary Line Lane. So if I'm having to get, and that was, a good chunk of part of the reason it's going in there, was our once a month tractor trailer to come in, offload or slabs of Tennessee stone or bluestone pallets. You don't see going down the highway anything less than full tractor trailer loads. I guess I had tunnel vision doing my due diligence thing. Oh, Boundary Line Lane, it's flat, it's level, it's, like, what could go wrong? Well, apparently you're not supposed to look at your lane, you're supposed to look at how you get to your lane. So if there's a KFC here instead next year, it's because the limiting factor of getting my delivery trucks in.
And that has to do, just piggyback on that comment, that has to do with, as Mr. Garrett stated, the VDOT I've had multiple conversations with Mr. Trout, Alvin Trout, I should say, with VDOT, and there's no concerns on the commercial site distance for a low volume commercial entrance that is off of Boundary Line Lane. So the parcels are highlighted, the two parcels are highlighted that are owned by Boundary Line Lane LLC. And so the issue is not obtaining site distance off of Boundary Line Lane, like it's usually that we hear, obtaining site distance on a secondary road or something like that. That's not the issue here. The issue is actually the turning movements and the ability, I should say, to get 18 wheelers safely off of Route 11 and on to Boundary Line Lane. And so it is a very limiting factor as far as commercial development goes on Boundary Line Lane. And that could be very, very well, why this available business properties are still vacant. So of course, as was discussed with Mr. Garrett, one of the catch-alls, if we will, conditions is contingent upon building department, VDOT, ENS, that type of thing. I'll also add while I'm chatting, again, these are the two respective properties. We do have some 100-year floodplain. It's Zone A. And so down in this area here, you'll note that on the site plan as well. It's shown on that as well.
Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Garrett? Okay. Thank you, sir. At this time, we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anyone physically present who would like to speak?
There's
No one signed up.
Okay. Anyone virtual or by phone?
No, there is not.
Okay. You guys have any objections to closing the public hearing?
No, I did not.
Okay, with no further public comments, we will close the public hearing. Open up to our discussion. What do you guys think?
I mean, if it's the property I'm familiar with, one of the properties is current housing that's across the road from it. It's housing VDOT, all that vehicles, all the road signage. So I don't see any issue, especially with the VDOT being approved to VDOT and all that. I don't see an issue holding him up. I mean, because that property's been sitting there and I've been back in the county for 20 years.
I mean, the only thing I'd like to discuss, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I drove by there. And I don't see any problem with what I'm hearing, but the implementation, some of the things in your plan said that, you know, I guess it's timing and stuff. I mean, if we don't put anything down as far as timing, when would this expire?
The ordinance follows the code of Virginia at 6 months. It's something, and we can pull it up directly. I think it states that it must be put into effect within 6 months unless otherwise specified in the permit itself.
Okay, well, I mean, obviously number 3 is trying to specify, and I'd like to,
Yes.
if we're gonna do this, not make it open-ended, but make it reasonable so that you give them the time to get everything done. You did mention, like, a few months for the grading, I think, right? And then after that, it was a little more uncertain.
Yeah, if you don't mind, the next time, we can't, that does not pick you up well.
I just want to put down some reasonable timeframes without,
So come back up, Walter.
Let's see here. So the grading is, we've got the equipment for that. We cut the high side, we bring the soil to the low side. You know, there's not a lot of money laying around for any of this. This is just like a long-term plan. How do you start a long-term plan on a shoestring budget? Well, first you buy the lot, then you get it leveled, see how much money is left. I mean, this is not some out-of-town corporation coming. This is just me making money as I have a little extra, we improve it. So I understand that you guys want more than that. I'll give you whatever, I'll do my best to give you what you asked for, but the reality is, like, I didn't go apply for some $500,000 loan to make all this happen. It's just like coming off with extra profit off of $5 million.
what we have is a condition that says implementation of the project by, I guess that's essentially starting it, right?
That would mean the process of making something active or effective. So grading certainly would be
Okay.
that.
So you're gonna do this regardless of what VDOT says.
I think at this point, the house has been mortgaged. The closing costs and the loans are probably the $20,000 point. If all of a sudden, like, this thing is not working, what can I do to maybe get some of that money back? I can at least cut and fill and make it presentable for somebody who doesn't have deliveries.
Have a tractor trailer coming in. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it is small business. It's not like one of these larger, it's not like with BARC where they had to plan it out. I mean, I don't, based on that property sitting the way it is, it's probably good. I mean, you got the gas station that's opening right across the street. I mean, you got the hotels, which I don't foresee them making any kickback. The only thing I would advise them is that people tend to steal things nowadays. So I would just advise him to secure the property, use some money to secure the property. But I don't feel like squeezing him, especially when he's just getting by and building things out as he sees fit.
Right. Well, I mean, so then, what I'm saying, we can't leave it nothing or it becomes 6 months. Is what. So I'm saying is it like, can we implementation by within a year, say the grading's done in a year and give them 4 years for the rest of it? Is that something? Is that
That sounds great. Yeah.
I mean, I just threw it out. That's just the
Yeah.
guess, but
So if we don't set a time frame, then it's 6 months. All right, I agree with you on that, making it longer for him.
I would appreciate that.
Why don't we stretch it to 5 years, Tony? I mean, if he's gonna he's gonna go in and do the grading in order to improve the property, and that's implements the process. And
I said, I think 4 years was other projects. We kind of went that way, but I don't personally have a problem with longer.
No, and I was just misunderstanding what you're saying. I was like,
I just don't want it to have it.
No, I'd rather give you
infinite.
more time than less. So yeah, I'm in agreement with you on that.
So the 6 month time frame, we have the option to make it longer, like.
Yeah,
you have-
absolutely,
You have
yes.
to start the project within 1 year and finish it within 5. We could,
Yeah, absolutely. And so the section of the ordinance states a special exception must be put into effect 6 months after the date of the permit is issued unless otherwise provided in the permit itself.
I mean, I like that language. And if you don't get it started within a year, then you come back.
There certainly is the ability to modify the conditions through the same process we're going through now. Yes.
that gives you time to work out the VDOT issue.
That makes sense.
That sounds great.
And I don't see any need to add any other conditions. Other than you said something about your wife, we can put some conditions in there that she's not allowed to.
We cannot issue restraining orders, sir.
If there's anything in the code about.
I can search it real quick.
Okay, no, thank you.
Right.
So, and I apologize. I did not get an opportunity to chat with Mr. Garrett prior to the draft motions. We always sit down and say, these are draft motions that have been utilized in the past. So what we have, what could be utilized in a approval is substantial compliance with the development plan titled Garrett Landscapes Draft Site Plan dated June 4, 2026. Approval contingent upon Rockbridge County Building Department, Erosion Sediment Control, Stormwater Management, PSA, Public Service Authority, and Virginia Department of Transportation approvals. And then the third one, what I'm getting from this conversation is implementation of the project by, or let's say implementation of the project within 12 months and project completion within 5 years of the date of approval. Those are the three draft conditions.
I make a motion that we approve or recommend approval, what you just said.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. We all voted yes.
Perfect. Appreciate that. So this will be tentative date for this to be on the supervisor's agenda is the 27th of this month, just for y'all's information, public information, I should say. So we will advertise a second public hearing accordingly.
All right, next up, we have a public hearing, County of Rockbridge, 150 South Main Street, Lexington, Virginia, 24450. Public hearing zoning text amendment to modify Chapter 30, Article 6, Section 30-47F, Agricultural Forestal Overlay Districts, Agricultural and Forestal Districts Advisory Committee of the County Code to update the language associated with the membership requirements of the Agricultural and Forestal Districts Advisory Committee.
Yeah, this is a fairly simple one. Chapter 101 of the Acts of the Assembly. It's House Bill 292, enacted by the General Assembly and signed by the governor on March 14, 2026, modifies the membership requirements for the Agricultural and Forestal Districts Advisory Committee. So currently, it's section 30-40 parentheses F. That's the makeup of the Ag Forest Advisory Committee. So essentially, it says that Commissioner of Revenue or the county's chief property assessment officer, that's the requirement now of the makeup, but the state law was modified to state or a representative from their office. And so with that being said, it just gives a little bit more flexibility that the Commissioner of Revenue, they don't actually have to be, it could be a representative of their office. So it's a fairly, and of course, in your agenda item, you have a more detailed summary of information, but you also have the proposed language itself in the agenda item.
Okay, thank you, Chris. At this time, we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing on this matter. Is there anyone physically present that would like to speak?
There's no one signed up.
About via Zoom or phone?
And there is no one, no attendees or no one with their hands raised.
Okay, not surprising. Are there any objections to go ahead and closing the public hearing on this? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. It's our time to discuss it. Seems pretty cut and dried up.
Yeah, I think we discussed this last meeting.
Yep.
Making sure we're staying up with code.
Yep. Buddy, nothing? All right, do we have, I think we need a motion on this.
I make a motion to recommend to the Board of Supervisors that the zoning text amendment to Chapter 30, Article 6, Section 30-47F of the Rockbridge County Code be approved.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. No nays. Okay, the motion carries unanimously. Okay. Moving along, next up is zoning text amendment discussion. We have two of them. One is an update to the agrivoltaics definition per Code of Virginia, House Bill 508. And the next one is manufactured home ordinance update per the Code of Virginia, House Bill 655.
Yes, I will try to tackle the agrovoltaics. I believe Mr. Tyree is going to take care of the next one. So recent changes to the Code of Virginia established a uniform definition of agrovoltaics, House Bill 508, which enacts the definition relating to small renewable energy projects, was approved by the governor on April 6, 2026, and took effect on July 1st, 2026. So staff, to comply with this, the changes in state law, staff proposes amendment to the existing definition of agrovoltaics in the Chapter 30, Article 3, Section 30.2, which is the definition. And in your agenda item, you have the current definition of agrovoltaics, and then you have the uniform definition of agrovoltaics set place by the amendment to the Code of Virginia. And so this is a fairly cut and dry one, if you will, as well, with little flexibility or latitude on the county's part
In terms of the definition.
in terms of the definition of
I
agrovoltaics.
think it creates some complications of what we've already got written in the solar ordinance.
But do you have an example of that? Or
Particularly pollinator friendly stuff that we have put in there.
okay,
I'm looking at what we've done already. I mean, this is pretty intense, this definition,
I agree.
in terms of what concept. I think in the past, at least I did, kind of thought of agrovoltaics to include the pollinator friendly.
Yeah, and we did not. So the current definition of agrovoltaics means agricultural production such as crop and or livestock production in the panel zone area and the and the solar open area. And so I can't remember where we got the original definition of agrovoltaics, but it did include the pollinator friendly. And I was concerned, as the zoning administrator at the time, I was concerned that agrovoltaics means agricultural production such as crop and or livestock production or pollinator friendly habitats. I didn't see that connection there. And I was concerned about, well, can you have agricultural production in a residential zoning district? Well, you can. Can you have a pollinator friendly habitat in the residential zoning district? Certainly you can. And so that's why we took out the pollinator friendly. Now you're exactly right. There's language in the solar ordinance about pollinator friendly, but it did not extend to saying it was agrovoltaics.
But I'm thinking of an applicant that would submit, an application that submits, well, we're going to put pollinator friendly things, doesn't rise to the level of agrovoltaics, whatever.
Yeah, agrovoltaics, yes.
And I guess I'm kind of looking in the future from based on what we've done in the past that, I mean, this is a tough thing to define and show because it has to be maintained all through the life of the solar thing. Plus it needs to be they need to be able to adjust. I mean, the only example I know of right now is the agrivoltaics is, which used to be out at Fairfield,
Yes,
which I understand they having problems with that.
with the agrovoltaic side
Right.
of things.
So
yes.
in this case, you know, if the goats, I mean, the sheep no longer can go in there, they're not compliant if that was part of their application and conditions that we established. So it's just, I don't know. I just think it needs to be looked at.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I think the General Assembly is going to start looking at the some of the language that we talked about last month in the solar ordinance itself. So this might, but I do note that I don't think the current definition definitely does not have to do with pollinator friendly habitats. And I'm not so sure in reading this, I should back up. I'm confident that the new definition wouldn't include pollinator friendly habitats.
I agree. I agree with that.
Which is pretty neat.
What I'm just saying is that, but one application that says I'm going to do pollinator friendly,
yes,
and another application comes in and says I'm doing the agrivoltaic.
yes,
That's a tougher
I agree.
thing there. I mean, they got to prove a lot more. And it's also, from our standpoint, I think it's easier to disapprove it because they're going to have to prove a lot, you know, to meet each one of these continuous commercial sales, commercial farm integration, long-term farmer flexibility, which means that if you want to change from sheep to goats, you could,
My,
have to be clear. So
my understanding was that agrivoltaics is an area which they want to promote, but they want to make sure it's limited so it actually is agriculture. Because the term has been used, and the concern, which I believe led to this, is the term has been used rather freely. So they want to make sure without for Virginia's a consistent term. And I think there'll be incentives that'll be attached to agrivoltaics. So I think it makes sense that it'd be a more narrowly defined term than the other areas. Would be my
I like the definition, but it almost makes it, if they can meet the definition, an applicant can meet the definition, there's almost no way we can disapprove it.
Based on that, yeah, we can. If they meet the definition,
Still agriculture.
Well, and the assembly has defined what agrivoltaics means, and as long as they fall within that definition as a locality, we can do nothing to say it's not agrivoltaics. If it meets this definition, that's a statewide standard.
How does this tie into land use taxation? I mean, if you're producing agricultural products off a piece of land and you weren't before, how do the two mesh? Is that?
I would have to rely on the commissioner revenue for that. I know there was a large amount of discussion when this first came through. Does putting sheep under a solar panel for maintenance, would that qualify for land use? And I believe, don't quote me on this, I can follow up with a group email or something that did not. Once that unique acreage is in solar production, primary use, yes.
Okay.
But Tony, you're not saying
but the first definition is designed to prioritize and sustain agricultural productivity.
But you're not saying that we could not, if they do agrovoltaics, you're not saying or alluding to that we would not have the ability to deny the project.
I mean, there could be other reasons. I grant that, but this would carry a lot of weight.
Well, we could not say this is not agrivoltaics if they fall within the definition. But that's actually, whether or not it's agrivoltaics really doesn't play into our.
But their concept plan would have to be quite detailed.
I don't believe there would necessarily be, at least I'm not aware of a place where it'd be a role for the county to determine whether or not it's agrivoltaics. Because we don't grant special exceptions for agrivoltaics. We grant special exceptions for the solar field.
But if somebody came in and said, we're going to put sheep on the property.
Yeah.
That would probably meet most of these conditions. If they decide.
Well, it's so an existing solar field, you mean they said we're going to put sheep on it?
If that's part of their concept for a new solar field.
Well, and I believe some of the changes in the state law comes solar field was like increasing the minimum, increasing the maximum height that we're able to limit to.
Put cows in there.
That's meant to allow for other things underneath that currently, when at our lower height level, couldn't be done. So my understanding of the current policy in this area is that they're trying to promote agrivoltaics and promote the idea of solar fields being farm friendly.
And you
Which
also,
there's been a lot of questions of whether they actually are. or
you
not.
also have the enforcement type thing. So all of a sudden they start mowing it instead of,
Well,
grazing.
if they come in and we make part of the condition that it stays within agrivoltaics, then we would have an enforcement obligation. But I don't think, it's not, I don't think it's our, well, I guess it depends on how the applications would come in, but as of now, I don't see how we would be making the
well,
determination.
but our solar ordinance is mainly about guidance for putting in an application. That's why I'm
Sure,
bringing that
and
up.
some of that has to be changed because of the change in the state
And
laws.
that's my
Yeah.
point. Is it,
Yeah, but I think what I think Chris's point on this, which I agree with, is that this is a state designation, and we have no choice but to follow it as a
but
definition.
for,
for
I mean,
agrivoltaics.
don't we have other solar?
No,
fixes
no,
to
no,
make?
for the definition of agrivoltaics itself.
So where does this get changed? In the definition?
In
No,
the
we-
definition
Yeah,
chapter.
we're making our local definition in compliance with the state passed the definition.
And my
of
concern
agrivoltaics.
is, are we sure there's no conflicts by making this change into other
Well,
words?
that's a point I think is worthy to go back and look and see. My personal view is that it probably doesn't because this is, because agrivoltaics has a fairly narrow use right now within our local code. So I don't see how, but I think it's worthwhile. I think we have no choice but to do this. And so, but I think it's valid that we go back and double check throughout the
As
rest
of
of the
July
code.
1st, this is the definition regardless of what our. code says.
That's exactly right. So we should make it in compliance. So no, but that's a point well taken, that we should always review things to see if this impacts what we mean by other things.
And one of the things I would like to look at is is it how we word the pollinator friendly.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I mean, I know Chris has given some thought to it. I haven't given thought to it. I know that the people that raise bees and sell honey think they consider themselves
Well,
agriculture.
that would be agri.
Yeah,
okay.
it would be. It
That
seems
would
like
be,
that would
that's the
fit within
one,
here
one exception that you might have with putting pollinator friendlies. If you had,
because you're doing it for the purpose of your own.
well, I mean,
bees.
you would probably have to have some honey production or something like that. You wouldn't just.
Or are they sometimes move the bees around for pollination purposes only? But at any rate, the point being is that, yeah, there's.
You have to sell the
something
product
different.
that's on there.
You have to be conducting an agriculture business. That's right. That's what requires it here as part of this definition.
Anything else? I guess we're looking for a recommendation, not a motion.
This one would be a motion.
This is.
Yeah, I make a-
Yes, and you have
Okay.
well, you have one draft motion
Okay,
in front of y'all.
I make a motion to take the zoning text amendment pertaining to the definition of agrivoltaics to public hearing at the August 12th, 2026 Planning Commission meeting.
A motion?
Second.
And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Okay.
So before we go on to the very next manufactured home, sticking along the solar ordinance, staff failed to advertise the solar ordinance for a public hearing tonight. So if we could get a second motion, because that was a unique motion to hold the public hearing tonight.
On a particular day.
So if we could get a second motion from y'all, make a motion to take the zoning text amendment pertaining to the solar to public hearing at the August 12th, 2026 Planning Commission meeting, that will give us the instructions we need pertaining to our last month's discussion on the overall
Yeah, you just couldn't get to,
solar ordinance.
I mean, adopting this new definition and putting it into the current solar ordinance.
Well, the solar, we have major modifications or modifications, I'll say, to the solar ordinance itself, and y'all instructed staff to take it to public hearing, but we failed to advertise for the public hearing. So we need to make a second motion this evening. I make a motion, and I'm not making a
But
motion.
that was, my no vote is based on why don't we just combine it all together?
Yeah, and we will. What's that?
Well, we just made a motion to take just this definition.
Yes. And now I'm asking for a second motion.
he's
the
making for a
solar
second
ordinance.
motion to reaffirm and make it to the next meeting with the solar ordinance so we can kill two birds with one
Yes.
stone.
So they both will go on August 12th.
Yes.
Yes.
We have a motion for that.
I make this motion to put.
Did you?
Yeah, I make a motion to take the solar ordinance definition to the next meeting along with the agrivoltaics.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the motion carries unanimously. All right. One more item, the manufactured homes discussion.
Yes, thank you so much. So much like the other two state code changes, House Bill 655 updated the manufactured home ordinance per the state code of Virginia. So during the 2026 session of the Virginia General Assembly, House Bill 655 was adopted and signed into law by the governor. The legislation became effective on July 1. In a nutshell, what House Bill 655, and it's in your packet. But in a nutshell, it basically states that manufactured homes through the local zoning ordinance cannot be any more restrictive than those applied to site-built single-family dwellings solely because the dwelling is a manufactured or mobile home. So, what this does is we basically have a manufactured home ordinance which is County Code Section 30-62. And several provisions of that ordinance need to be updated to meet this current code section changes. So the only time now that you can be more restrictive on manufactured and mobile homes is in like a TCO district or a historic district or some other district where you have restrictive private covenants, for example, would be one where you can still keep manufactured homes out of certain subdivisions in certain areas. Otherwise, it cannot be any more restrictive than your stick-built homes currently. Now, in the code, there was a question about the removal of like the tow hitch, the axles, the wheels, and placing it on a permanent foundation. The state code is very specific in the fact that it mentions that it has to be considered real property within 5 years of the date of construction implementation. Once it is placed on site within 5 years, it has to be considered real property. Also under state code, in order to be considered real property, mobile home has to remove those items and be placed on a permanent foundation so that it can no longer be mobile or be moved off site. And so that was clarified in the change to the county code so that it could be considered real property. Also not in the current draft, but I think it is something that should be included in there, is just a line about exactly what I just mentioned, private HOAs, something to the effect of, property owners do their due diligence to find out if there's any private covenants regarding the individual lot, because as you all know, the county does not govern covenants or HOAs. That is a civil item that is taken up by the HOA itself. And so it is a property owner's due diligence to research and find out if the property they're interested in has any of those restrictions. So I think it is worthwhile at least putting a sentence to that effect into the draft ordinance. And that's it in a nutshell.
Would an HOA supersede this?
It could certainly, if it has covenants regarding manufactured mobile homes, it would supersede this code. And any future HOA or covenants could supersede this code as well. So in the future, there could be a subdivision built that does have those covenants within it. It can still have those in private subdivisions.
Any other discussion?
You addressed my concerns.
Okay, do we have a motion to take this zoning text amendment to a public hearing?
So moved.
A motion,
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion carries unanimously.
And I'd actually like that motion, gives us more flexibility if there's an error or we need more time. It gives us the flexibility not to do it in August, but our goal is to do it in August. Yeah, absolutely. But if something happens and we don't, gives us flexibility, where next month you don't have to
Right.
remake a motion. Yeah. Perfect. Appreciate that.
There'll be a flurry of activity for, I don't know how many subdivisions or HOAs we have in the county, but once they catch wind of this, you think there'll be a flurry of activity to update their language? Or-
I've talked to about 6 localities now, and they're all, what is everybody doing? I was able to talk with several other attorneys as well, and they're all going through the same process, the same as we are. Lynchburg has several historic districts that it's working through to try to figure out what type of restrictions. Like currently, there's several localities that have restrictions on widths and different things like that of homes. And so they're just shoring up their codes and making sure that whatever restrictions they have for single family residential homes, that it either, and I hate to say it this way, but it just is what it is. But in several of those localities, especially in their historic districts, they're trying to make it so based on the width, the roof pitch height, things of qualities of homes that were built during those eras, whatever it may be, 1860s era, that it makes it almost impossible for somebody to in the future bring in and manufacture a mobile home to certain districts. But they're seeing it as well. And they've already had 2, Lynchburg specifically had 2 inquiries in very expensive neighborhoods. There are lots for sale, and there's a gentleman wanting to purchase them and put mobile homes in, and they do not have any restrictive covenants in those neighborhoods. And so they're wondering, how can we get around it? And honestly, they said they didn't think they could at this point. So unless there's a lawsuit or somebody challenges it within the state Supreme Court and it gets overturned somehow, or there's an amendment to it, for now, you're going to start seeing probably a lot of mobile home manufacturers move into the area.
Are there any, I mean, I know if we were to make changes to the stick-built type houses, requirements there, that it could be perceived, or is that we're doing it to get around but are there anything out there that maybe we do need to do with stick-built that would then apply to this as well? I mean, there's no requirement for a certain pitch in a roof right now in the county. No. So
You could have a flat roof right now on a single family stick built home today. And in fact, there are some very nice ones throughout the county, stick built, 2-story flat roof homes. So there's, yeah.
Tom was here, but I mean, is it just aesthetics to have a pitched roof? Is that the reason, or is other?
I think so. As somebody who has done construction in the past, I'd much rather work on a pitched roof than a flat roof. Flat roofs leak like
My son has a
nonstop.
flat
I cannot stand a flat roof.
Yeah.
Functionality.
The functionality of it.
It's not something we would require.
Well, I'll tell you, even
No.
our office downtown, we've been dealing with, I mean, we just replaced the whole thing like last year because it leaks down through the cracks where these
Not
old historic
justification
buildings are.
requiring.
But and I'm saying, as far as water coming off, it sits on top. You go after it rains, you're walking on top of a flat roof with water, and then it pulls down the walls.
But one of the things, another locality, and I can't recall which one it is. One of the things they're going to do is they're going to have a minimum restrictive limit to the width of homes. All residential homes will be a minimum of 20 feet in width. So what that does is it takes the single wides out of the equation. You can still put in double wides because some double wides are 24 feet.
The 20 feet.
That's what
Now,
they're coming up
I mean,
with.
back then you could have done whatever you wanted,
Yeah.
but now it could get challenged. The fact is, you're only doing it to.
When you think about the tiny home movement that a lot of younger folks are into, and you take them out of the equation as well. So there's going to be some challenges probably over the next couple of years that I see end up going to court, and we'll just have to see where they go. But that's just words I'm getting from other locality, the information they're giving me.
The overall goal is good.
Yeah, I think
increase affordability in housing stock.
I think that's their goal, is to try to address the housing crisis that's going on. And, manufactured homes are traditionally less expensive than your stick-built houses, and more readily available. You can order one today and they'll deliver it tomorrow. You know what I mean? And so the time frame turnaround is very quick with them. And so I think it's one of the things the state has tried to do to overcome the housing crisis and to make housing more affordable.
All right, sounds good. That's all on the agenda. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, a second. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Now, official.
That's official, yes.
Yeah.